It is visible.
Okay. So, welcome you all. We are already running almost 19 to 20 minutes time. So I'll try to make it compensated as we'll proceeding further. The topic which is given to me, it seems to be a very interesting one, and it was related to the entrepreneurial what do you call role in creating employment opportunities and employment opportunities through entrepreneurial mindset or something like that. I tried to make a little bit corrections or modifications which will be suitable for my way of presenting the things. So I modified the title to little bit calling it entrepreneurial status and employment scenario of India and the role of mindset and promotion. Promotion will be with respect to the government promotional welfare measures. So that is the key point of addition over here. Moving further to the next slide. So the outline of the presentation will be like this. I will be briefly touch upon the concepts, key concepts related to entrepreneurship, the various types, and whatever the socio-economic, psychological theories are concerned with respect to entrepreneurship, and why there is a necessity of a entrepreneur or the process called entrepreneurship. So relevance of entrepreneurship will be the next point of discussion. Similarly, with respect to the second point, which is employment, I will be discussing certain key concepts, types, theories, what are the possible causes and consequences of employment, and then also the relevance, what is the necessity of discussing employment. Then third point, with respect to certain facts and figures, because we are economics people at the end. So relevance of our talk will be there only when we will be supplement with respect to certain facts and figures, some certain informations or data. So what is the Indian entrepreneurship status and employment scenario? We'll be briefly discussing them. Then the concept arises that there will be twofold relationship will occur, whether there will be a situation called searching for job or job seeker perspective, and there will be something called entrepreneurial perspective or job creator perspective. So which path to choose and what is the relevance of any specific path? We cannot say from the very beginning that one path is superior over other. Both of them have their own pros and cons. So that is the subject matter of our discussion in the next. Then moving to the last point called entrepreneurial mindset. What are the relevance of it? How does the entrepreneurial mindset functions? What are the different parameters or factors which are affecting the entrepreneurial mindset? And how does government play an important role, whether it is local, state, or central government? And then with the concluding remarks, we'll be targeting to wind up the discussion. So moving further with respect to the first part of the story, that what is entrepreneurship is all about. As you can see that entrepreneurship basically it refers to a process of designing, launching and managing a new business venture. So new business venture indicates indirectly that there may be an existing one, but entrepreneurship is not related to the modifications or some value addition to the existing one, rather creating for a new one. So that does not necessarily mean that it should be a new entity altogether. The idea may be already there in the world, but it will be in a different perspective. So the perspective is important so far as the entrepreneurship is concerned. So it involves creating value by combining different resources and taking the risk and potential profit. So, and it encompasses to the innovation, leadership, and the ability to identify opportunities and overcome challenges to turn an idea into a reality. And this process, like in economics, we call it as the decision-making process. There are different decision-making units, like production is a decision-making process. Producer is a decision-making unit. In the similar line, if the entrepreneurship is a decision-making process, then accordingly an entrepreneur will be considered as a decision-making unit. So in that case, an entrepreneur can be an individual or a group of individuals, and their major task or major responsibility with them is that to create and to manage a new business venture. So basically, they assume the associated risk which is involved in any new venture, and accordingly, there is a specific goal for that to earn profit from this type of risk taking. So they are often seen as innovators who identify opportunities, develop new products or services, and drive economic growth. So the key characteristics of an entrepreneur will be like risk-taking ability, innovation and creativity, leadership and vision, resilience and persistence, adaptability and flexibility, problem solving skills, and there should be a strong work ethic. So these are all in terms of a normative approaches. I mean, a good entrepreneur must possess these I mean attributes, whether they are related to personal level or they may be related to group level. So presence of them will make the entrepreneur and accordingly the entrepreneurship process more viable. Certain select entrepreneurs, as we can see from India or maybe outside of the India, like the names of Jamsetji Tata, Tata Group, Dhirubhai Ambani, Reliance Industries, then Birla, Ghanshyam Das Birla, Birla Group, then something called Adesir Godrej, the Godrej Group, Varsin Kurian, the Amul Cooperative, NR Narayan Murthy for Infosys, Siv Nadar, HCL Technologies, and so on. And similarly, in the outside India context, the names may be the John D. Rockefeller, Standard Oil is the company, Andrew Carnegie, the Carnegie Steel Company, Henry Ford, the Ford Motor Company, Walt Disney, the famous Walt Disney Company, and so on. Similarly, the list can be a number of things. So objective is to just to give a snapshot that who is an entrepreneur, what is the concept of entrepreneurship, and what are the possible examples of an entrepreneur. Then moving to the types of entrepreneur, that anything can be divided into several categories. So in that same way, the entrepreneurs can be divided into various categories. Some of the categories I try to compile it from some sources. So on the basis of business type, the entrepreneur may be agricultural entrepreneur. Obviously, they are related to agricultural production process, or it may be manufacturing. The manufacturing may consist of either cement, paper industry, leather industry, food processing, tobacco, you name it. And third type of business type is related to trading entrepreneurship. So they are not majorly focused on something called the production process, either whether it is agriculture or industry. Rather, their major objective is with respect to trading. So wherever there is a possibility of a new market or maybe not so explored market, to capture that, that is the objective of trading entrepreneurs. Then moving to the concept of technology, technical entrepreneur and non-technical entrepreneur, the name is very simple. So associated with technical innovations, more creative domain. So there is technical entrepreneur. Those who are with respect to conventional type of non-technical entrepreneur, they will be a part of the second category. Moving further to ownership, it will be either completely non-government sector, completely owned by the private entrepreneur, or it may be owned by the government or state. Then it will be either state ownership or maybe public enterprises. And then there will be a mix of both the combinations, some portions of the private, some portions of the public, may be influenced by the philosophy of something called public-private partnership. So there will be something called joint venture or joint enterprises. Similarly, on the basis of gender, it can be male and female. On the basis of enterprise size, it can be small scale, medium scale, or large scale. Obviously, we'll be going into the little bit more details with respect to MSME sector. MSME stands for micro, small, and medium enterprises. So I'll be discussing this thing in a little bit more detailed manner in my subsequent slides. Then, according to an American economist or maybe social thinkers called Clarence Danoff, the entrepreneurs can be of innovating entrepreneurs, those who are interested for creating some new process or new technology, or there can be something called adaptive or imitative entrepreneur, those who are not involved in the process of creation but using those creations. That means adapting the new technologies, the new modes of production, new process of productions, and do the new business. Or there may be third type of called Fabian entrepreneurs. The Fabian entrepreneurs means basically those who are parasites in nature. I mean, not so optimistic type of entrepreneur. They operate only for the sake of operating a particular entrepreneur, neither having more interest for any new technology nor for any kind of adoption process also. They will be continuingly doing the same previous type of old business, what you call operations. And then there is something called drone entrepreneurs, those who know their activity or business are going to be obsolete in a day, in some near quarters, but still then they are affiliated so much with their working business, so that they do not want to what you called modify their business strategy. Rather, they will continue with the same, even if there is huge loss or maybe in a future date. They know that their operation they are going to be ceased. So that is a concept of drone entrepreneurs. So in that line, there are different what you call evolutions of entrepreneurship in India, starting from the 17th century. Then there comes the era of, no, I mean, 17th century, the era of industrial evolution. Then there is a era of British Raj, especially moving from the British company to what you called the Queen regime. So during that case, there are certain modifications of the manufacturing entrepreneurship take place. In the advent of what you call 20th century, especially during the time of 1905, there is a Swadeshi movement take place, will give rise to another name and fame to what you called indigenous products and kind of stuff. Then the situations become green till the pre-independence era. After the independence era, major focus one on the large scale industries and not so familiar steps taken or fruitful steps taken for the upliftment of the MSME sector. And then completely moving to the recent phenomena, recently 20-25 years, there is a renaissance and industrial evolutions 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe we are at the beginning or maybe at the starting point of industrial evolution, IR 5.0 or something like that. 4.0, we are already in the middle phase. Now, coming to the different theoretical frameworks, there are n number of theoretical frameworks. Because of the paucity of time, we have already consumed a lot. So, if time permits towards the end, then we can discuss them in detail. But the majority of these theories, to give a snapshot about the theoretical framework, whether it is Schumpeter, whether it is Macleland, whether it is Levinston, whether it is Young, whether it is Max Weber, the spectrum of entrepreneurship related theories, they range from economic dimensions to socio political demographic dimensions to something called political as well as psychological dimensions. So there are various branches of social sciences, the thinkers, social scientists, thinkers, think tanks. They have given various ideas and approaches to understand the concept of entrepreneurship. So, what is the relevance of understanding this really entrepreneurship? Because if you want to understand it from from an economic dimension or maybe from a socio what is called socio anthropological dimension, then broadly, if there will be more entrepreneurs in a society or in a system or an economic setup, then they will give rise to something called more job creation. So employment opportunities will be one of the what you call impact of entrepreneurship. Then with the advent of what you call more employment or job opportunities, they will contribute to the GDP growth also. So there is economic expansion, market size will be modified, extended, expanded. It will give rise to more R&D, more research and development, more innovations. Then that will give rise to more competitions, more competitive domain. So accordingly, as we know from our basic economics understanding, that competition will give rise to more and more efficiency into the system, though there is no hard and bound rule, hard and bound restriction for that. But majorly perfectly competitive market structure will be more efficient than the imperfect competitive market structure, taking that philosophy into consideration, because it will enhance the competition, so there will be more efficiency possible, and the credit will go to the entrepreneurs, and ultimately it will give rise to more wealth. So the wealth creation will be another dimensions of the entrepreneurship. Moving to the social and community level of impact, so it will give rise to the living standards, the standard of living of the people will be increased. Then there will be community development, there will be more participation towards the community welfare thing. And personally, it will give rise to more self-reliance. The people will develop a sense of what you call self-sustenance, self-reliance kind of thing, and ultimately they will be resulting in more skill upgradation, and more skilled persons give rise to more human capital formation, and in that line of argument, the entrepreneurship plays a very important role. Moving to the second point of our discussion, the second point of our discussion is related to the concept of employment. So the concept of employment, as we know, that basically the employment can be both formal or informal, and in both the cases there is an agreement. The agreement where an individual, may call it as an employee or worker, he or she provides a labor or services for another party. The other party is known as an employer or a client, and there take place an exchange between the provision of services given by the employee, and in return the employer will give rise to certain kind of compensation, and that compensation may be in terms of fairly in terms of monetary compensation. So that will give rise to something called wage, salaries, and other type of furloughs or benefits and kind of stuff. So broadly, the employment can be of various types. It can be a full-time employment, or it can be a part-time employment, or there can be something called a fixed time or a contractual employment. So depending on the nomenclature, it can be easily understood that if the duration is completely fixed for throughout the year, or maybe for a very long period of time, then we call it as a full-time employment. Otherwise, if the duration will be for a short duration, short time period, again, the short time period is not really defined, because it may vary from contract to contract, from what you call the industry, or maybe from entrepreneurship to another entrepreneurs. So in that case, the time will be limited, and in that case, we call it as a part-time entrepreneurship. Third type will be with respect to a contractual payment. That means up to a particular nature of contract, the duration will be defined, the parties' responsibility will be predefined, and accordingly the remunerations will also be predefined. So in that case, it will be completely a contractual employment kind of scenario. Then next will be temporary or seasonal. Seasonal and temporary can be understood with respect to certain what you call a phase of time, maybe during winter, maybe during summer, depending on season, or maybe with respect to some other kind of event, like if there is a festive occasion, and there will be some employment scenario. If there is no festive occasion, there will be some other type of employment scenario, and so on. So that is with respect to seasonal or temporary. Next concept will be self-employment, freelance, or independent contractor. So as you can understand, majority of the people, starting from what you call the persons, those who are provide milk, or maybe newspaper to your houses, and ranging up to something called the directorial, or what you call the executive members of a corporate affairs. Majority of them, they come under the category of self-employed, or the freelance, or the independent category. Then there arises something called gig employment. They are basically related to the platform economy. Examples will be like those entrepreneurship where Uber and what you call the Ola type of transportation, or maybe food processed food delivery things like something called Zomato or Swiggy. So they will become under the categories of platform economy or gig employment. And then there will be another internship or apprenticeship type of employment where the nature will be short term and less money or sometimes no money than internship category, or it may be for bigger entrepreneurship like health sector or maybe IT sector. So there is a concept of apprenticeship where the objective will be not full-fledged employment, but earning while learning. That will be the mechanism of this last type of employment scenario. So different characteristics of employment will be compensation. There is a compensation mechanism. The person who delivers the services receives the compensation, and the person who receives the services, he or she will provide the compensation. And as we have previously understood, also the compensation may be in terms of wage, salaries, or other type of benefits. Then there will be an element of control, and there will be a direction. So in case of employment scenario, a few people will be working under another person, and those similar. So in other words, there is basically a hierarchical system, or there is a what you call a relationship which will be contractual, or maybe a subordination kind of relationship exists. So if you follow any normal type of what you call uh, scenario, especially if let us consider something called from the university setup point of view, or maybe in institute point of view. So there will be certain sections those who are non-teaching, staffs. There will be some other thing those who are teaching staffs. Again, within the teaching staffs, there will be hierarchy in terms of assistant professor, those who are in the sixth or seventh pay CGP, on the contract, or maybe something from 8,000 onwards, those who are supposed to be the full-time professors. And then again, under the full-time professors, there will be categorized like associate professor, then professor, and there will be professor higher some HAG scale or something like that. So in that way, there will be a series of what you call subordination or contractual relationship you can find. Next dimension is that there is an element of job security, and there will be a other type of benefit arises. As you can see, depending on the formal and informal organizations, the nature of the benefits will be different, and the nature of job security will also be different. For a private entrepreneurship or private enterprise, the security in terms of job security may be relatively less, but there may be higher what you call remuneration possibilities. But so far as government sector is concerned, the salary may be relatively less, but the job security will be more, and other benefits like something called health scheme facilities, or maybe something called TLC, LTC, LTA kind of benefits, and there may be some other type of dependent persons benefits, and there will be some other type of things will be there. And moving further to something called code of conduct, there will be a formal as well as informal code of conduct in a employment scenario, both in uh, uh, type of entrepreneurship. Also, the situation will be a little bit different, but maybe informal. But in case of the formal organizations, there will be a proper code of conduct. That means from starting from the dress code to the timing of reaching and leaving the organizations in terms of biometric attendance and so on, and leave options also. So these are certain things which are proper, typical characteristics of a employment. The final one is that there is a legal framework or a regulatory intervention. So employment is generally governed by the labor laws, and that sets standards, or what you called a reference for minimum wage, working conditions, protections against unfair dismal, or maybe post what you call job scenario in terms of pension schemes or some other things. So these are in nutshell the characteristics of a second key concept is which we are discussing right now in terms of employment. Then technically in economics, we often use the concept of employment situation as well as unemployment situation or unemployment rate. So to understand that mechanism, what is the concept of employment and unemployment rate? We want to get an idea about the overall population. So the total number of people in a given area, maybe in a state or maybe in a country, will be the total population. Out of the total population, there will be some fraction will be a part of the workforce, or we call it as technically the worker population ratio or WPR. So basically, they are a part of the overall populations, and the number of employed persons as a percentage of the working age population will be defined as something called the workforce. Then there is a concept of labor force. All individuals were either employed or unemployed, but they are actively searching for jobs. So either they have already obtained the jobs, and some other persons they are in search, they are not still getting it. So both the categories will be a part of the concept of labor force. And the labor force participation rate is another technical term which indicates that the percentage of working age population. Basically, the working age populations they vary from case to case, from country to country, as well as within a country also over a period of time. But as a rule of thumb, 15 or more than 15 years. Sometimes some other places it will be 18 or more than 18 years. So depending on the scenario, if a person will be over than 15 or 18 years of age, then he or she will be a member of the labor force. And those labor force, they will be giving rise to both the categories of employed and unemployed, as you can see in these portions. So some portions of unemployed will be jobless, but they are available for looking for a job. Whereas some other persons, those who are also jobless, like older people or maybe the younger children category, and they are not available as well as not looking for the jobs. But they may be potential job seekers in a future date or maybe in the current date also. So that is the overall idea behind the concept of employment, unemployment, and labor force concept. Am I making any sense? Because currently I am just going in unidirectional framework. So I'll be very happy if there is any question or any doubts in between. Then you can ask me also, so that it can be two-way discussion can be held also. Otherwise, if you are fine for the towards the end discussion, then that is also fine. Hello.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because
Yes, sir. So we'll be discussing
you
towards
can
last. Okay,
proceed. You can
fine,
proceed.
fine. Okay, sir,
Yes,
fine. Thank you. So moving to the concept of the types of unemployment. So as you can see, the types of unemployment, again, there are varieties of it. Sometimes it is called as frictional, sometimes it's called structural, sometimes it is cyclical, seasonal, technological. And there is another typical term which was not mentioned deliberately over here, because I thought to make it more clear while presenting it. That is concept of disguised unemployment. So there are various types of it. So frictional, basically, examples of frictional will be like a recent college graduate searching for their first job. So in that case, there is a job transition, or just recently entered into the workforce and searching for the job. So there is a search cost associated with this type of unemployment also. So we call it as a frictional type. Then moving to structural unemployment, like coal miners, those who lose their jobs because once that coal deposits, coal mining lease is getting completed. So in that case, once the coal deposits are over, those who are the coal miners, they have to be going through something called the structural unemployment, because there is a mismatch between their job skills and the market demand. Then the third type is cyclical unemployment, those who are job losses during the 2000 financial crisis. That may not be a single instance. There can be a number of such incidences because there is an economic downturn. There may be because of some other type of natural calamities, some other type of problems. So there is a cyclical unemployment may get into the picture. Seasonal unemployment refers to the farmers working facing unemployment during the winter months, or there may be summer months, or there may be some other type of seasonal festive occasions or kind of things. So we call it as a predictable labor demand changes because of a particular fluctuations in a time period. And then technological unemployment examples will be self-checkout systems replacing cashiers in supermarkets. Those who are hiring n number of cashiers once upon a time, but because of the advancement of something called automation, so that automation mechanism replaces the human labor. So we call it as a technological unemployment. And the final one, which was the most popular, is called as the disguised unemployment. As we know that disguised unemployment is not exactly unemployment, rather it is too much employment. Too much employment indicates that if a particular person or maybe group of person, those who are getting hired and they are operating within the system, but their inclusion into the system creates more negative externalities, and accordingly the overall production may get adversely affected. So if you remove them, rather the production will be more, or they will give rise to better productivity, higher productivity, whereas inclusion of them give rise to lesser production or less productivity. So in that case, they are coming under an extreme level of unemployment where it is actually too much of employment over and above the actual or the potential limit of it. So that is called something called disguised unemployment. Then there can be n number of reasons behind such unemployment situation, whether it is any type of unemployment. There is a responsibility. If you can see the causes element, it is related to the state of the economy. The state of the economy means whether it is an emerging economy, whether it is a developing economy, whether it is a less developed economy, whether it is advanced economy. On the basis of that, the situations will be different. And then there will be a structure of the labor market. The structure of the labor market indicates that whether there is a competitive market structure, what is the degree of skill available in the labor market, whether majority of them are graduates or maybe illiterate, or even if there is less education, but still then whether they are very, I mean, what you call their skill is very I mean their applied skill is more in comparison to the learning skill. So may not be a school maybe a school dropout, maybe a college dropout, but at the end of the day he or she may be a asset to an organization because he has certain X efficiency, so which is missed out in the system. So that may be another reason. Third reason may be the lack of relevant skills, as I have already said, lack of experience. That means whether that particular person is having, I mean, working in some other type of similar organizations or maybe a different organizations, then what is its set of experiences. Lack of knowledge in terms of vacancies, whether the particular person knows where to apply at what time. So these are different reasons because of which their consequences will be either at personal level, or it may be related to some household level, or there may be a community or overall national level. So these are the different sets of consequences, and ultimate consequences will be more pinpointed way they will be affecting. And these are subject to discussion whenever we'll be discussing towards the end of the session. I'm leaving it because it will take a lot of time unnecessarily to go into the details of it. We have some other important stuffs to discuss too. Then moving to the last point of the second bit is theories of employment. So broadly in economics, the employment is both a micro as well as a macro concept. That means from an individual point of view, as well as from a group or society or maybe an economy point of view. So broadly, the theories are related to macro theories, macroeconomic theories. So either it can be a classical theoretical framework or maybe a Keynesian theoretical framework. As we know, the classical school of thought dominated by the economists like Adam Smith, Jean-Baptiste Say, Arthur C. Pigou, and so on. So the major principles are related to the case is that the simple case is that there should be a auto regenerating system. That means if there is any problem, if the demand gets what you call shortfall of supply, then there will be auto market driven mechanism will operate and make it will attain automatically to the full employment situation. And similarly, if there is a excess supply situation also, the market mechanism will automatically wipe out the inefficiencies and it will get back to the full employment situation. So that is a broader aspect of the classical theory. Major principles like supply creates its own demand by the Say's law. Then there is something called wage and price flexibility. Both the price as well as the wage rate in the labor market, they're fully flexible because of the free market mechanism. Then the role of the government will be minimal, so we call it as a laissez-faire policy exists, and the equilibrium will occur not only in the product market but also in the factor market but also in the money market. So there is a real market money market equilibrium, there is a real within real, there is a product and factor market equilibrium. So basically, in a general equilibrium point of view, majority of the components, majority of the decision making units and economic agents, they are already at equilibrium. So either if there is a change, if there is a disequilibrium take place, that disequilibrium will be temporary in nature and it will be auto adjusting nature. That is the fundamental principle behind macroeconomic theory. Moving to the Keynesian theory, they are just coming in what you call challenge to the classical version. So basically, market-driven mechanism is the classical framework, whereas in the Keynesian framework, it is basically the government-driven framework. So government-driven framework indicates that there will be always a government interventions which play an important role. The market failure is a concept. So because of the market failure, there will be a concept of government interventions required, which is the Keynesian principles, fundamental principle. And further, the post-Keynesian economist, like monetarist economist by Friedman, or maybe supply-side economist Krugman, and some other Martian theories, and maybe some of the what you called the post-modern Keynesian post-Keynesian theorems, modern macroeconomic theorems. So broadly, they are focusing on there is a middle path approach required. That means neither the market will auto-adjust each other its time, nor also the government interventions will always be right. Because the government interventions, wherever it is not necessary, if the government intervene, or whether at what time, whether the government intervention is required and the government is not doing anything, in both the cases there is a occurrence of something called the policy failure or the government failure also. So because of both market and government failure mechanism, there is a mixed balance approach required, where both the parties need to be operating simultaneously. So in that framework, the employment is a very complex phenomena so far as the macroeconomic theoreticians propose. And why it is relevant? Because it will have individual impact, it will have economy perspective impact, as well as it will have socio-community level impact. So individual impact will be like financial and material well-being. Then there will be health perspective, personal growth. Economic wide effect will be economic growth, innovation and competitiveness, income inequality, government resources. Then societal level, then it will be lead to social cohesion, technological advancement, and future of the work will also be there. So in that way, the concept of employment is also very important. Now, till now, we have enough discussed about the conceptual theoretical thing. So let us, in a nutshell, try to see what is the situation in the current phenomena, current scenario. Not exactly very current, depending on the availability of data. I try to compile it from various sources. So let us see what does they look like. So now, first challenge with respect to the data is that data will be plentifully available so far as few large-scale industries are concerned, but they are not the two representative figures of an economy. Rather, MSME sector is the most representative figure for an economy so far as entrepreneurship is concerned. And now let me define MSME. What do they stand for? Basically, from the perspective of investment in plants, equipment, or machinery, or from the point of view of asset turnover ratio, the sectors can be classified under micro if something called investment will be less than or equal to 2.5 crore and its turnover will be less than 10 crores in terms of rupees. Small scale sector will be similarly will be within 25 crores of investment capacity, and turnover ratio may be less than 100 crore rupees. And so far as the medium type of enterprises, the limit will be further enhanced, and it will be like up to 125 crore rupees for investment. And so far as the turnover ratio, it can go up to something called 500 crore rupees. So in that way, if enterprises will be categorized in this framework, then we can consider them as micro, small, and medium enterprises. And why they are relevant? Because these are the backbone. As you can see from this particular slide, that majority of the what you call the distribution of the small medium enterprises will be like this. Majority of them will be micro category. A very few will be around 1% or slightly more than 1% will be small enterprises. And further small, it will be close to 0.1% for the medium enterprises. And accordingly, you can understand the scenario of the large enterprises in Indian economic system. Now, coming to the overall cases, the contribution of the MSME sector will be close to 30% to the GDP as per 2-3 years before time period. So far as the manufacturing output contribution, it is almost 36%. To the export market, it is contributing 45%. In terms of employment creation, it is contributing almost 24.4 crores. By the way, total population of India is close to something called 140 crores during the time of this data collection. So MSME sector will be the registered, some the Udayam registered will be like 5.77 crores. So in that way, the MSME sector plays a very important role. And so far as the different manufacturing services and trading type of enterprise is concerned, majority of the what you call the MSME sectors are related to trading entrepreneurs related. And then second rank is for the service sector, and almost out of every 5 enterprise, 1 enterprise will be the category of manufacturing. So in that way, the distribution of the MSME sector goes like this. Then moving to the gender-wise distributions, the out of every 10 enterprise, 7 people will be from the male entrepreneurs point of view, and 3 will be from female, though the figures will not be very binary in nature because of the new or the third gender perspective. There are also some of the enterprises, those who are run by the third gender entrepreneurs point of view. The number is small in comparison to other, and accordingly the percentage will also be very less. Coming to the different what you call social caste or social class point of view, the majority of the enterprises, they are managed by the general category persons, and the second positions will be going to the OBC, and both of them comprising together almost covering something called 86 or 87%, and the rest will be divided into SC and ST population. So you can understand the tribal representation. If you consider the schedule type as a tribal representation, then they will be covering almost 3% or just more than 3% in terms of the entire economy, entrepreneurs point of view. Now moving to the different states point of view, the figures, I'm sorry to make it a very small figure because I do not want to make it a two table so that the overall idea will be missed out. So these are the different states and union territories in terms of micro, small and medium enterprises, where you can understand that the states like Maharashtra, the states like southern countries, southern part of the country, they will be having more what you call the number of enterprises, both in micro, small, and medium enterprises. Whereas some of the small countries, states, especially like Lakshadweep or maybe Ladakh, Union Territory, they are having relatively very less number of enterprises. And in terms of investment rate, in terms of turnover ratio, in terms of distribution of employment, or in terms of employment contribution, these are the different figures. The slides will be available just after the discussion. So if you are fine, or if you have any query, we can have a discussion further. Moving to the second part is with respect to how does the data look like for the employment scenario. So as you can see, almost 550 million people were substantially employed up to 2023-24, and in the subsequent previous years, especially from the 1983 to 2023-24 figure, you can find out the trend pattern of the job creation, or basically the employment generation. Second point with respect to what will be the employment facilities for the different type of educational categories of group. So those who are not literate, those who have not gone to the school or something like that, there will be 4.44 percentage. Then primary or below 3.18, middle 3.4, 4.6 for the secondary or the diploma level, and 3.5 on an average total level. But those who are having graduation or more, that means in Indian employment scenario, those who are having more, what you call educational qualifications, especially graduation or more, their what you call employment scenario will be relatively more growing in comparison to the other educational qualified persons. Job growth was faster than the population growth. In other words, starting from 83 to 2023 time period, for almost 40 years of time period, as you can see, the population growth was almost 2% or on an average 2%, whereas the job growth will be relatively more. So in that way, these are very green signals in terms of employment scenario. So as an academicians, we should also bring into the not so green situations to make the analysis little bit balanced. So as you can see, the unemployment rate in from 2008 to 24, and in different state scenario, you can see the case of Goa, case of Kerala, and some other states, they are having high unemployment rates in comparison to some of the other states like Tripura, or I'm sorry, some of the states names are hidden because of the slide merging. And in case of the current scenario, especially post-COVID scenario situations, the unemployment rate is drastically increasing in comparison to the previous almost 10 years time period. The last 5 to 6 years time periods, the situation is very gray or green, because the unemployment rate is very high. So overall, the work very is with respect to the situations like in the entire map scenario, the states like Haryana or maybe something called Rajasthan, the unemployment rate is relatively high in comparison to some other states. Now, in comparison to young and jobless, then gender related, so many informations are available. Now, moving further, going to the concept of job seeker and job creator, because till now we have given sufficient time to understand both the entities to who are they, what are they, individual level. Then if they will be brought together into one framework, so there will be n number of differences between a person who gives a job like an entrepreneur and who takes a job as an employee. So in terms of compensation, in terms of work schedule, job security, responsibility, decision-making process, flexibility, benefits, diversity in terms of work environment, in terms of risk taking, collaborations with the rest of the world, opportunities, then policies and competitions. There will be n number of differences between entrepreneur who is providing a job and who is what you call receiving a job, or as a job seeker and job creator point of view. So ultimately, the question arises which path to go. Majority of the persons, as you can see from this from this image, that majority of the persons, those who are following the case of employees, because it will be less risky, and there will be what you call a secured avenue. Whereas in case of entrepreneur, the number will be relatively less, and very few people they take this what you call idea of being an entrepreneur or choosing as a career path. So what are the pros and cons of being both the categories? So as you can see, pros of being an employee, you are paid on a regular basis, on an hourly, weekly, or monthly basis. You don't need to worry about the performance of the company. So that is the idea of an employee. Employees have a great work-life balance. Their work hours and shifts are predetermined. If they must extend their schedules, they are also compensated for the overtime. Full-time employees receive a range of benefits from their employees. They receive health insurance, covers vision, dental, life expenses. Additionally, they provide unintentional advantage to the staff. When employees are promoted, they have the chance to earn more money. Additionally, that helps with career advancement. Many companies provide professional development opportunities. This could involve training, mentorship programs, and upskilling classes. Whereas the cons of the being an employee, that if sales at the company are declining or the economy slows down, there is a chance that you may lose your job, even if how secure the job market may look like. Workers are always required to operate under managerial supervision. In an organized setting, they do not have much authority. The timetables of employment are less flexible. You must arrive and go according to the schedule. Whereas pros and cons of an entrepreneur will be, you are able to manage your company's profit. You can reinvest funds to grow as your business also grow. The increase in the profit of the company. Entrepreneurs can control their own schedules. They can take the breaks wherever they need it. Entrepreneurs can plan an early retirement than others. They can make money in less time and sell the business for an early retirement. Whereas the cons, entrepreneurs have to gather capital to start a business. They have to pay loans and maintain investors' relationship. Entrepreneurship comes with a large financial risk. If the business falls, then it can lead to a bankruptcy also. Working alone comes with an additional stress and responsibilities. Dealing with taxes becomes difficult when you run a business. They have to keep accountants to calculate the taxes. And reviewing the differences in pros and cons of the entrepreneurship and employment, one must need to consider the financial condition, personality, and mindset before making the right decision. And there lies the concept of entrepreneurial mindset. Before going into the entrepreneurial mindset, just to give a snapshot, this is borrowed from a previous existing literature, so which indicates that how the entrepreneurship create jobs. I mean, just a snapshot. This is not exactly a theoretical framework on the basis of certain facts and figures. They have compiled it and they come out with this theoretical relationship that it depends on the business, what you call how many years the business is getting operating. So basically, the new business formation, especially those who are at this phase one, has a positive effect on employment in the short and in the long run, and a negative effect in the medium term. So as you can see, the nature of this term. So in the initial phase and in the terminal phase of the cycle, there will be more demand for the new product. There will be new entrant capacity, and accordingly, the impact of this business will be positive to the employment chains. Whereas in the middle path, the existing firms fail to compete and there is a layoff to the staff. So that's why in the middle phase, which we call it as the medium range, in the medium term, there will be a negative relationship between the entrepreneurship and employability. So in other words, if you want to, the conclusion maybe from this slide will be like this. If you want to promote entrepreneurship, it should be more in the short run, and in the long run, it should be sustained. And in the medium term, they should be changing their plant size. They should be changing their technological thing, so that the spring or what you call the cyclical go will be faster in this range so that you can cover your negative outcome in a better manner. So in that context, it follows the principles of the product life cycle framework, but not exactly in the same line of product life cycle theory. Now moving to the entrepreneurial mindset, as we can see that entrepreneurial mindset is a powerful catalyst of employment generation, as individuals with the mindset are more likely to create jobs for themselves as well as for others. They drive innovation, they contribute to overall economic growth, and their approach is contrast to the traditional white collar job and those who are especially for the job seeker mentality. And it is especially important in addressing the youth unemployment. So what are the key ways to generate employment via the entrepreneurial mindset? So there is the possibility of direct and indirect job creation. Basically, the entrepreneurs directly create jobs by founding new business and hiring employees. Indirectly, they stimulate the demand for goods and services across various supply chains, especially manufacturing, logistics, marketing, and so on. So in that way, there will be both type of job may be created, direct as well as in the indirect way. Innovations and new industries, entrepreneurs identify gaps in the market and develop new products, new services, new technologies to fill them up, leading to the creation of entirely new sector like e-commerce, some app development, some kind of renewable energy. The innovation generates specialized job opportunities that do not previously exist. Economic growth and competitiveness, by introducing innovations and increasing competition, entrepreneurs force existing firms to become more efficient and adaptable, which raises overall productivity and economic performance. Self-employment and livelihood, the mindset encourages individuals to be self-reliant and leverage their skills to create their own income streams. And ultimately, by establishing business in underdeveloped areas, entrepreneurs may help also to revitalize local economies. And wherever there is a possibility of regional disparity, it may be targeting to mitigate it. Then, what are the different strategies to cultivate the entrepreneurial mindset? So, obviously, there will be n number of strategies available. First thing is that there should be education and training. Second thing is that there should be a commitment to the lifelong learning, because there is a misconception among majority of us as well as outside this discussion forum that the learning will end once we get the job, or maybe till the job is obtained, the learning may be continued, but once we got the job, we should be ending of our learning experiences. But that should not be the case. Each and every day is a new day, and we should be committing for the lifelong learnings. And there is the risk taking and resilience. The entrepreneurs cannot be, entrepreneurial mindset cannot be inculcated to the new, what you called, generation people, unless until they are well trained or well averse with something called risk taking and resilience. Then there is foster creativity and innovation. There should be a very clear and achievable goals. Learn to collaborate, international collaboration, national collaboration, develop financial acumen. The person may not be a rich person to be an entrepreneur, but at the same time, a middleman or middle class family person can be also an entrepreneur, or maybe a poor person can be a successful entrepreneur, depending on how financially literate that particular person is. And similarly, the resource accessibility, challenge acceptance, and if there is a failure in the what you call the entrepreneurial journey, then there should be a learning for the new opportunity, and every time you should be going for attaining it with the same spirit and with the same vigor. Then only there is a entrepreneurial mindset can be obtained. And there should be a practice of self-reflection. Emotional intelligence should be cultivated, and obviously over and above this, there is enough space provided by the government in terms of public policy support. So by nurturing the entrepreneurial mindset, societies can empower individuals to become job creators rather than job seekers, contributing to sustainable development and a more dynamic workforce. So With this, let us proceed further to the discussion of the policy support. So there are till now almost n number of policies formulated by the government of India, state governments, as well as international agencies also. So to pick up a few, only two, 3 points. One is the Startup India initiative. The Startup India initiative is basically a flagship program launched by this NDA government in 2016. And it provides a 360-degree support system for the startups. So fund of funds for startups means a corpus of 10,000 crore rupees to meet the funding needs for startups. Then there is a startup seed fund scheme which provides financial assistance for proof of concept, prototype development, product trials, and market entry. Then there is something called CGSS, which stands for the Credit Guarantee Scheme for Startups. It offers credit guarantee for collateral-free loans up to a specific time, specific limit to a recognized startups. Then there is a regulatory support and incentives in terms of tax exemptions. Eligible startups can receive income tax exemptions for these consecutive periods, 3 consecutive periods out of their first 10 years of incorporation. Then there is easier compliance. Compliance startups are allowed to self-certify compliance under 9 labor and 3 environmental laws to reduce the regulatory burden. There is IP protection. Startups get up to 50-80% of rebate on patent filing and expedited patent application examination. Easier public procurement, central ministries or departments, relaxed conditions of prior experience or turnover for DPIAT stands for Department Promotional of Industrials and International Trade recognized startups in public procurement. Then there is something called mentorship and networking provisions like MARC portal. MARC stands for Mentoring, Advisory, Assistance, Resilience, and Growth. And this is a national mentorship portal which connects the startups with the mentors. And there is a Startup India Hub and online platform for stakeholders into the ecosystem to connect and engage. Then there is a scheme called AIM, stands for Atal Innovation Mission. It is basically the government of India's promotional measure for a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship across the country, primarily technological driven areas. And programs including setup like Atal Tinkering Labs, ATLs, in schools to foster creativity and Atal incubation centers to build innovative startups into scalable and sustainable enterprises. Then there is a Ministry of MSME schemes. The Ministry of MSME offers Prime Minister's Employment Guarantee Generation Program. Then there is a scheme for promotion of innovation, rural industries and entrepreneurship called as Aspire program. Then there is Purti program, which stands for the scheme of fund for regeneration of traditional industries. And target support schemes will cover like Stand Up India scheme, facilitates bank loans between 10 lakh rupees to 1 crore rupees, at least one scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Then Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana PMMY, it extends collateral free credit up to 10 lakh to non-corporate and non-farm small micro enterprises. Then there is Startup Village Entrepreneurship Program, a sub-component of the Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana National Rural Livelihood Mission, DAY NLRM, that supports entrepreneurs of rural areas to set up local enterprises. And then there is something called Women Entrepreneurship Platform. So aggregator platform by NIT Aayog that provides information and services in 6 focus areas, including funding, incubation, mentorship, and marketing assistance for women entrepreneurs. So these initiatives combined with ongoing regulatory reforms aims to build a robust and inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystem across India, encouraging a shift from job seeking to job creation. So finally, I can conclude with these 4 or 5 points that the well-established companies can harness the potential and inventive ideas of entrepreneurial spirit to booster their brand reputation and enhance the customer satisfaction and adapt the evolving market demand. So there is a role of the existing running companies to promote for the new companies to also settle down or to set up. Then there is a role of society and community. The role of society and community may orient towards fostering the entrepreneurial mindset and exploring the alternative career paths. The idea of looking for a white collar traditional employment job after graduation or even prior to that can be a complex process. Hence, the students may be directed to see the potential for entrepreneurship as a viable career option, irrespective of the course of the study. The course of the study. That means there is no hard and bound rule that they should leave the school and colleges and being a and open a startup recently. Rather, with the side by side course, so that is the advantage of the new educational policy also in the recently implemented scheme. And interdisciplinary university teaching, learning, training can significantly impact on the psyche of the students and trainees to develop the diverse perspective and expertise by working across the various disciplines, leading to marketable and holistic solutions for the local societal issues. So there is a role of university institutions, Institute of National Importance, Central University, various research, what you call organizations also. Additionally, the research institutions, civil societies, media houses, and entertainment industries, including what you call the TV, the cinema, and so on, along with the NGOs, they should be involved in the debate, discuss, and discourse of contributing scholarly knowledge and identifying opportunities for innovation and business creation. So final statement will be from my side will be the comprehensive efforts of several development agencies along with the governments and international agencies may provide valuable insights that can lead to money making opportunities and self-sustenance. So with this, I am concluding my uh, talk over here. Thank you very much for being so patient and listening to me. And you are most welcome to have any query so that I can address a few of them if possible. Thank you.
Okay, okay. I request the participants, those who willing to ask questions, they can raise their hand so that I can give access mic to you and you can directly ask to the our resource person. Just raise your hand so that we can give access. Meanwhile, there is not a question, a query in the chat box. One of the participants is asking about, could you please refer the source of the data where you have gathered it and analyzed it?
So you are asking for, sorry, can you
Uh,
repeat, sir?
there, there is a candidate asking about the data which you have shown to the participant, the source from where you get it and how the data were available.
Okay, okay, fine. So to give this particular portions for this MSME sector, the MSME they do have a annual report. So the recently published annual report, not recently, couple of months before. So latest was available for 2024-25, I guess. So from that data, from that annual report, chapter 2, I have compiled these informations with respect to the data. I'm sorry to mention them. That is because of my carelessness attitude. I'm sorry for the same. Thank you. Thank you for reminding it.
Okay, Dr. Yasmita, you unmute yourself and you can directly ask question.
Good afternoon, sir. Uh, Sir, I just wanted to know, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you
Yes,
are audible,
perfectly.
ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I just wanted to know, in our university, there are a lot of students who are working on different kind of ideas. Some have prototype also and all. So, can you just brief us that in what ways? I mean, suppose a student is having one prototype a student has prepared as a water purifier or maybe sustainable printing options. In what way these students can take their idea forward? What are the registration process and in what way they can go ahead with the same?
Okay. It's a very, very nice question, ma'am. First thing is that I do not know whether you come across with this concept called FTBI. That is something called Technological Business Incubation Centers. If you have come across with that, then I'm sure that many IITs and NITs, and I'm sure for many central institutes also, they have some corpus fund and some funding facilities are also there from the Ministry of Higher Education to establish one of them in their respective institutes. And or if it is not available at your university or college, then you may search for a nearby such institution which provides this type of incubation center, because it is those incubation or technological centers or maybe business incubation centers, they're not specifically for that particular institute. Let me give you my institute's example. So in our institutes, NIT Rourkela, so there is a center called the Foundation for Technological and Business Incubation Center, named by maybe APJ Abdul Kalam or somebody else. I am not able to recall it. But anyway, that particular center's objective is to target for the nearby places, including Sundargarh district as well as the western Odisha region of I mean, that is the target area. So those who are college going students, those who are pursuing any technical what you call degrees in the nearby institutions, they can come and register themselves, and then they can showcase their whatever the idea. It may be in a very novice stage, it may be in a very intermediate stage, or it may be in the advanced stage. It doesn't matter. There will be a group of mentors which will be assigned depending on the nature of the product or process, either from mechanical engineering department or maybe from the computer science department, depending on whether the facilities is required from the app development point of view or from some mechanical support. So accordingly, the product will be what you called given a final say, or the idea may be given a final say. So then it is up to that particular person or maybe the group of persons. So they either register it or they go for applying it for the patent in line with, I mean, taking a what you call knowledge partner of NIT, or they may go for independent one. So it is completely up to that particular agency or person. So in that way, you can help your students at least to give this information to them, so that either there is a provision for such type of center, or maybe in the nearby region, wherever the center is available, then as a local participant, he or she can join and explore it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I think there is no more question, but if anyone wants to ask the question, raise your hand. Anyone else wants to ask the question? Okay, we will wait for it if you have any questions. I have one small questions to you, not questions, a query. Probably many participants will be interested to, I mean, know about it. Because of this emergence of the AI, the mindset or the thinking approach was completely depending on the network, all these things. Means we are not creative in that way, rather than depending upon the heavily on the digital platforms or maybe kind of a technology. So what way we can promote these ideas into the tech entrepreneurship activities when we are in the phase of AI?
So can you repeat, sir? In the age of AI, the importance of AI is there. So how to link with the presentation? I'm not getting it properly, sir.
The question is not a question, it's a query. We are seeing about the emergence of AI. So the innovative ideas or creative thinking were completely dominated by the AI. We are not thinking it manually, rather depending on the technology now. So what way we can promote entrepreneurial activities where heavily depending on the AI now?
Okay, but yes, I mean there are certain advantages and disadvantages of always the technological innovation or upgradation. So this is a AI age. So I think they have their own merits and demerits, but still there. See, sir, whatever is already available in the domain, the AI can help you to understand it in a better manner. It cannot generate from the thin air. I mean, there is a difference between natural intelligence and artificial intelligence at the end of
Right,
the day.
right, right, right,
So if I am suffering from a particular problem, and if that particular problem related thing is completely a new problem or maybe a very local problem where there is hardly any debate and discussions going place in the internet or maybe some other agencies, so there is hardly any scope to get a solution for that. So
right,
always it is a natural intelligence which will have a I mean upper hand over the artificial intelligence in that case. Obviously, the some of the tools and techniques they can be I mean very useful, uh, and there is no harm to get those informations also to make our point or to make our decisions more rich, but at the same time it can help us but it cannot solve the what you call the entire thing. For the
right,
solving there is a element of natural intelligence will be required. That is my personal opinion. I may be wrong also.
right, right. Okay, okay. There is a question raised by Prasant Gupta. So, Prasant Gupta, you can directly ask the questions. I have given the access.
Uh, Thank you, Dr. Deepak, for giving me the access. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
perfectly
you're
audible.
audible.
Yeah. And thank you, Dr. Vikas, for such a nice insights. I don't have a question actually, just an additional note to what Dr. Vikas actually said. Like, for example, we work a lot in the healthcare side. So even if an AI model is generating some kind of recommendation, somehow as a person, I will always trust the intellect of a doctor to make a final diagnosis. So AI can be a facilitator, and AI definitely is very good for doing a lot of mechanical tasks. But as a replacement to the human beings, I somehow don't agree with that idea. So that's my view and my take on that.
Thank you. So this is not at all a query, but in addition to your observations, a few days before I just browse this WhatsApp videos and maybe some reels here and there. So I got this type of insights from one of the advertisement, and that advertisement was related to some statement like I have so and so, and I'm recommending to the doctor to just give the prescriptions whatever I'm telling to you. So the doctor advised that if you know more than the doctor, then what is the necessity of visiting to a doctor? So he just said that no, the AI tools help us to, and the AI informations will be more or less 80% accurate. So the doctor replied him, weakly by saying that that's why the 20% lacuna is what you call that is mitigated by the doctors, and that is what we are all about. I mean, we cannot expect the 100% solutions from the thing. I mean, AI will be giving us the thing which is already available in the what you call in the domain. It cannot produce it from the thin air. So obviously, if you supplement, then it will be giving us the final thing. Thank
Exactly,
you.
exactly. Exactly. AI can sharpen your information, so it will help you to understand and think something new in that case. I absolutely agree with that. So, is there any other questions? Uh, I don't find any more questions. Let me check in the chat box.
We are already getting means overtime. It's
Okay, okay,
3:37.
okay,
The
okay,
another resource person is in line. He is waiting for us.
okay, okay.
Okay, okay,
So,
okay.
I think we'll wind up by giving a thanks to our colleague and also the resource person, Professor Vikas, despite his busy schedule, that too Saturday, disturbing and a teacher. I understand about that. But first of all, I really thankful to you that you agreed and delivered a lecture which is more relevant to this particular theme, and that to an employment opportunities, and that to job seekers or job creator. That is a challenging issues. You need to decide which way you have to go. So thank you so much. And
Thank
on
you,
behalf
sir.
of NIT Patna, again, uh, thanks to you for accepting our invitations. And with this note, we will stop here and
Okay, sir.
we'll see you some other time. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Amjad Ali, sir, and thank you, Professor Deepak Behra, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Okay.